Know that the Chinese government has been complicit in the fentanyl crisis of America since 2013 because China has always been the principal supplier of fentanyl chemicals. And also Chinese government controls all the chemical industries, and all the companies have Chinese parties, Communist parties sell inside them. So the fact that the people can still order fentanyl materials online and the companies are still allowed to export, that means they have the government's blessing. Probably driven by two reasons. First, the government's making money, they're collecting tax dollars, and they also probably want to use this as a bargaining chip for future negotiation with the U.S. government.
25-year veteran reporter Yuri Berliner resigned from National Public Radio yesterday rather than kowtow to threats from the CEO and newsroom. It's just the latest example of newsroom revolts over conservative content. Steve Jordahl reports.
Yuri Berliner is no conservative. In his Free Press op-ed questioning the direction of National Public Radio, he started out by giving his liberal bona fides. Raised by lesbian moms, the product of a far-left college education, he even cops to driving a Subaru. Berliner claims to be a liberal, but his expose of the far-left moorings of NPR had its entire newsroom readying their torches and pitchforks. Nicholas Fondacaro of Media Research Center says the far left has control of the newsroom.
But right now, especially with NPR, we're seeing where the radicals are being promoted to CEOs, and they want more of this.
He says it's just the latest example of newsroom revolts of late. NBC's newsroom recently went apoplectic at the thought of former GOP head Ronna McDaniel joining the network as an analyst. Opinion editor James Bennett was run out of the New York Times by his fragile co-workers for giving voice to Republican Senator Tom Cotton. Fondacaro says it starts at journalism schools.
The younger, more radical members of the journalist class that is coming up at a journalism school where they're being taught to be more activists.
Several of the canceled reporters have gone independent and are finding a receptive audience from people on both sides of the aisle who just want competent journalism.
They're being more receptive to what the middle of the country wants, right? And you have a large portion of the country that say they're independent, or people on the right who is just like, yeah, I like my conservative news, but I would also really like if the media in general just wasn't that liberal.
I'm Steve Jordahl.
The spring home buying season is off to a sluggish start as home shoppers contend with elevated mortgage rates and rising prices. Sales of previously occupied U.S. homes fell 4.3% in March from the previous month. More news online at AFN.net and the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty Pugh.
Well, good evening, everyone, wherever you are on this Thursday night. Yes, it is time for Nick at Night. Yeah, and you're listening to First Amendment Radio, and good to see Genetic Modification and No Bucks in the chat room. Well, as usual, we're going to be looking at the news and current events and Babylon Bee and whatever suggestions that you have. Of course, if you're like me, you haven't been looking at news at all today. You've been busy taking care of projects around your place or wherever you're at, or you've been working all day, maybe, I don't know. Don't really know much about all you people out there, but we're here now. Okay, well, let's start out by looking at Babylon Bee. But if you do come across something, you can text it to me. Let me see. I didn't even open up my my phone yet, my phone system. So let me start that before we get going here. to, there we go. So you can text me or call me at that number. But if you call me, you have to talk. That's the rule. And if you don't talk, I will ban your number. Yeah. Nothing personal. Of course. If you don't say anything and I don't know who you are, how could it be personal? All right, let's see. Let's go to Babylon Bee here and see what they have to say. If they have any funny today. 9 life hacks to get free hotel rooms, flights, and debit cards. Let me guess. Any ideas out there? Well, let's check it out. Let's see if they got anything. 9 life hacks. Okay, 1. Try to give the appearance of someone who might be an illegal immigrant named Juan. Well, this guy, the pictures up here ain't doing no justice for this. Sorry, because this guy don't look like Juan in any of these pictures. So, yeah. Try to give the appearance of someone who might be an illegal immigrant named Juan. This could include wearing a large black mustache and asking people, ¿Dónde está biblioteca? Yeah. Okay, so there you go. That's your first life hack. Yeah. R2, walk around playing mariacas and yelling, "Ole!" You'll be welcomed as an honored guest at even the finest hotels. Certainly, sure you will. Pretend you're a Somali pirate. Look at me. This is my hotel now. Okay? Or carry a burrito at all times. You get free accommodations, and it's delicious. Drive a pickup truck with a license plates that expired in 2019. Wait a minute. I've got my license plates expired long before that. It works even better if you have the skull of a Texas longhorn steer mounted on the hood. Maybe that works in Texas. But, yeah. And let's see what else they got here. Turn your family into a mariachi band. Little Jimmy will be more motivated to learn to play the trumpet if he knows he'll get to go to Disney World for free. Yeah, maybe Greg Abbott will put you on a flight to Disneyland or Disney World, one of those places. Okay, or introduce yourself as Pablo the Trafficker. Get ready for the VIP treatment, especially in Washington, D.C. Or number 8, put memorial decals for your deceased loved ones in your car's rear window. These people have cars? Where do they get cars? Oh, they just they think, oh, we're in America now. There's free cars everywhere, right? And of course, pickup trucks with licenses that expired in 2019. Yeah. And let's see. Put memorials or decals for your deceased loved ones in your car's rear view window, and make sure there's some Spanish written on there. Okay, number 9. Wear an undocumented migrants for Biden t-shirt. America now will be wide open to you. That's right. And once you've mastered these life hacks, you'll be set up for a lifetime of travel and lodging with all expenses paid. Yes, indeed. Okay. Let's see what else we got from the Babylon Bee here. Hello. In the chat room there. Let's see. Next. Caitlin Clark becomes highest paid WNBA player in history with lucrative 4-figure annual salary. 4 figures. How high can you get with 4 figures? $9,999 and 99 cents. I hope she's doing better than that. Yeah, I think she is actually, but still people are complaining. But I'll bet you she's not complaining. Yeah. Let's see how much she did make. Let's see. Yeah. The sports world took notice this week as number one draft pick became the highest paid WNBA player in history. The Indiana Fever, signing her to a contract to provide her with a lucrative 4-figure. 4-figure? Really? No, this has got to be satire, right? I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm way below the poverty level, and I get above 4 figures. Yeah, I'm sure I make a little more than $10,000 a year. Yeah. Okay, so this is an unheard of amount of money for the WNBA, said one sports business analysis. The contract will put Caitlin far beyond what was once considered the upper echelon of women's basketball players. This basically makes her the Michael Jordan of the WNBA. Well, maybe she'll get some of that Nike money, yeah, or something. Yeah, maybe something good will happen to her. I don't watch basketball, men's or women's, so it's kind of the same game. Yeah. Yeah, as long as they're not allowing men to play women, it's okay with me, as if I matter anyway. Okay, so didn't learn much about that, but next, pre-order the Babylon Bee Guide to the Apocalypse today before the world ends. Yes, indeed. Must be one of their funny publications. Yeah, maybe I could even write that one, huh? The Apocalypse Comedy. Oh, I think that's my show sometimes, especially when I'm talking about the pre-trib rapture dispensationalists. Yeah, it's the Apocalypse Comedy Hour. If only we could laugh. Moving on here. New York vet. Oh, that's a commercial. We'll skip that, since I'm sure the Babylon Bee is not going to send me any money. Travis interviews the world trailer, video trailer. Travis interviews the world. FT? I don't know what that means. The world FT. Okay, well, and it says Dr. Jordan B. Peterson. Okay, I don't get it if that's supposed to be funny. Don't know. Yeah, got me. I at loss there. Okay, let's see. I'll have the chili cheese fry and a strawberry shake, says man who never learns from his mistakes. Yeah, I guess the mistake is the strawberry shake. Yeah, pouring that on top of a chili cheese fry, that's almost sacrilege. Okay, moving on. Seeking better counsel, Trump hires Sydney Sweeney as new lawyer. I don't get it. I don't know who Sydney Sweeney is. Anybody know who Sydney Sweeney is? Yeah, I do not know. So, seeking better counsel. Okay, I guess we'll move on. Oh, yeah, I got to stop yawning at night. So I guess I'm not getting enough nap time in. Journalists at NPR suspended, leading to shocking discovery. There was a journalist at NPR. Yes, National Public Radio, that is, right. They had a journalist there. What would they do with a journalist? I mean, they're not into journalism, are they? I don't know. I never listened to NPR, so I only hear about it. But I hear it's pretty woke. Yeah. Because the government's paying for it, of course. And if the government's paying for it, the Antichrist wants his dollars worth out of everything that he's paying for. Since they're loaning all the money to the government, especially all those billions, but they create them through their bankers out of thin air, so really no skin off their teeth. But they still feel like, since they set up the system, that, they should get their money's worth out of it. And I guess you can't blame them. Yeah. It's a pretty good gig if you can get it. Okay. Judge warns Trump criminal trial may last until, say, November 6th. Yeah, I heard he had to be there every day. Is that election interference or not? Yeah, it's just all too obvious. It's so obvious that you'd think they want Trump to be president. And maybe they do. I don't know. I'm just, I'm just a dummy out here who doesn't know anything. That's right. Especially when it comes to politics and what the shadow government has planned. So I can only watch and wait and see. Yeah. And pray. All right. Struggling Americans hopeful their taxes will help get the national debt down to a manageable 34 trillion. Yeah, right. Yeah. Struggling Americans are really hoping for that. Yes, indeed. And so anyway, I think that's it. I think that's all they have for the Babylon Bee today. Not really that funny. Yeah. Sometimes I can laugh pretty good at the Babylon Bee, but not all the time. Well, let's see. Sometimes not the bee is funny. It's funnier. Yeah. So I guess we'll have to take a look at that. And see later on, I think we'll jump back into the history of the shadow government that works for the Antichrist, and see how their instructions, how they're instructed to take over commercial enterprises and banishments. Oh, what could that mean? I'll have to definitely check that out in our last segment. Yes, indeed. And also I started today doing the Audible on Volume 4 of the Hore Apocalypticae. I have all 3 volumes up there, Volume 1, 2, and 3 up and available at Amazon if you listen to Audible. And people are listening to it. Yeah, that's the amazing part, that there are people that are serious about listening to stuff on Audible. So I think I'll just keep doing Audible books. And maybe that way, when I turn 92 and I got 10 years to wait before the 7th millennium to come, I'll have some pocket change coming in. Or maybe that's all. If they have Amazon, yeah, they'll probably still have Amazon then. Why not? Yeah, the world's not going to end, because the Bible even says that people will be eating and drinking and giving and marriage and carrying on as if the world is never going to, the age is never going to end and Christ is never going to come back. That's what the Bible says, but says it will be more filled with violence. Well, that's happening too. So we'll see. Yeah. So you gotta live your life like you're gonna be here for another 40 years, or you could get hit by a Mack truck tomorrow. So either way, tomorrow is not guaranteed. I've asked the Lord, and He still hasn't said yes or no to me on the living, and surviving until He returns. So, and kind of really, well, although I'd like that, it'd be kind of cool to be one of those people that are actually living and changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye. Then I can say, well, I never died. I never went to the grave. Because, the being changed thing, that's kind of like an instantaneous death and resurrection. Yeah. It's just for a few people that are alive at that time. So it'd be something, you could brag about in eternity. Do we get bragging rights in the millennium and in the new heaven and new earth? As long as we brag on Jesus, I guess it'll be all right. Because, yeah, I'll think about that one for a while. Okay, the Babylon Bee. How about not the bee? Bro was Tupac gay. I've heard this Tupac, but I have no idea who this guy is. I'm guessing, oh yeah, he's a gangster rapper. There, it says it there. So, I mean, what do people care about gangsta rappers for? And it says, was Tupac gay? This old video is going viral, and it's got people thinking. So I have no idea. Is this him on the right now? He looks like what's that thing on his head anyway? I don't get it. It looks like someone hit him in the head and they wrapped his head up or something. He does look kind of sick. Or unless that's cool. He's supposed to look sick. Because I hear people use the word sick as if that means something's good. Yeah, I'm just, a little behind the times here. And I don't know if I'm ever going to catch up. So was Tupac gay? Don't care. Don't know. Doesn't matter to me. You can go to hell for living in adultery as well as being gay. Sin is sin. And, yeah. So you tell me if this is a gangster rapper or some guy you might meet in the Fruit Loop down on 1st Street. Yeah, I'm not going to look. I don't care. Don't care nothing about Tupac. I wouldn't know one of his rapping songs if I heard it. So, what, you don't know who Tupac is? Don't listen to his jive stuff. Okay, moving on here. Opinion. Caitlin Clark was the #1 overall pick in the WNBA draft, but the internet is blowing up over her salary. She deserves more, and here's why. She can take it or turn it down. I knew Babylon Bee was pulling her leg when they said 4-figure. It is 5-figure, and it's $76,535. She deserves more. She's playing basketball. It's all those other people who are getting more than they deserve, right? Yeah. So, the internet is officially going nuts. Yeah, it says that twice. Or did I just, yeah. It says, I'm here for it. Rookie contract, yeah. So she is earning $76,535. Well, that's more than most people are getting, And this is their first gig, so yeah. And if someone wants to draft her and pay her more, or maybe she can get, like I said, she can get a Nike gig. I mean, look, it's on her thing already. The jersey, I guess that's what they call them, a jersey. Anyway, so, that's all they got is 2 stories? Oh, no, they just put a commercial. They usually have that commercial at the end. Gold crushes Bitcoin. Yeah, because Bitcoin is nothing but air or digits on a computer in cyberspace. Yeah, so gold will always crush. Let's see, more than 15 billion miles and nearly 50 years from Earth, the Voyager spacecraft may have gone permanently silent. Yeah. Well, goodbye. So they sent it out there, and it just kept going. Launched the Voyager probes in 1977, but even now they're still getting some use out of them. Okay, yeah. Opinion. Traffic a kid in California, spend a weekend in jail, try it in Florida, and they execute you. Thomas Jefferson has a lesson for us here. Laboratories of Democracy. That's what SCOTUS Justice Louis Brandeis calls a state-centered model of federalism that Thomas Jefferson and his allies wove into the bedrock of American politics. Yeah. Okay. But I agree with Florida. Yeah. Even though the government of California floats above the land where I am. Okay, report. NGO tells illegals to vote for President Biden when you're in the United States. Guess who was on the board of the NGO's direct partner? Recorder Paravora, Biden, yes. Secretary of Homeland Security. Remember how the Great Replacement was a conspiracy theory? Well, it's not. Yep. They are here, but they got a long way to go to replace us. Yeah, they were probably hoping more for a kill or to have reduced the population in America by this time, but it didn't quite work out, according to Djil.com. I'll be back in a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. Secrets of the Rapture. Is there a 500-year-old conspiracy? A propaganda machine so pervasive and entrenched, yet so elusive that the entire world could be taken in by it, working in plain sight, but unseen by the world for what it truly is? If prophecy is God-given history in advance, why does the prophecy that has conquered the age also exclude nearly 2,000 years of history? What is it that they are afraid that the light of history will reveal? To understand our place in time and prophecy, we must look in history for an interpretation, that which stands the test of time, that which agrees with the Word of God, and history has proven to be true. When cunning fables and fearful speculations are removed from our sight, then we may clearly see what is truly expressed in Bible prophecy, both that which has been fulfilled and that which has yet to come. God's express word is the sword that must be wielded to remove the scales from the eyes and dispel the darkness of deceitful conjecture. Secrets of the Rapture was written to expose that which the spirit of the age has conjured out of the darkness to blind the eyes of the church in the world today. Secrets of the Rapture, Deconstructing Pre-Tribulation Dispensational Futurism by yours truly, Nicholas Arthur, is now available at Lulu.com and Amazon. Secrets of the Rapture.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
All right, we are back. I guess everything's working right. Everything looks good anyway. So we will carry on. Yes. NGO, The Great Replacement, Alejandro Mayorkas is a, let me see, what did they say he was? He was on the board of the NGO's direct partner and telling people, they're giving people instructions that when they get to the Estados Unidos to votar por el Presidente Biden. Yeah. So, and the Great Replacement. Well, remember Deagle.com, how they expected 90% population drop by 2025. That's what the population, what do you call them? The people who want to reduce the population of the earth. Do we have a special name for them? Oh, criminal murderers. Yeah, because who don't put their action where their mouth is, like by killing themselves first. Yeah, well, they tried. Didn't work out for them. I think that God made the human race a little more resilient than they had hoped. Though there are a lot of people that are dying suddenly without explanation. If you're really stupid. Good to see you, John. Scattered Sheep is in the chat room too. I didn't see her. Hi, Scattered Sheep. It must be my chat room isn't moving. Okay, I don't see Scattered Sheep in the chat room. She's in a different chat room. Got no bucks, genetic modifications, and okay. I'll let that one go then. So they didn't make it. So the Great Replacement, they're trying hard. They probably in the last 10 years, they probably got more than 20 million illegal aliens in the country. Maybe more than that. I don't know. The numbers are who can keep up. And if you think Trump is going to send them all home, well, we can only hope so. But it's not like they won't be able to find them, since they're all on the dole. But they definitely should stop giving them money. If they make them come in and get the money, and then you arrest them, take them into custody, and send them back to wherever it was that they came from. So don't give them more money. Use the money instead to send them back to where they came from. Okay, but here's another key. People, most people here are my age or younger or older, but probably past having children. But encourage your children to have children and your grandchildren to have children, because people are important, and we need to home grow our own people. with the people that are already here. Yeah. And all of the illegals that want to stay here, well, they should recognize that they have a good thing, and they might want to help us keep it a good thing, and yeah, and to start having children of our own. Stop killing babies. I mean, the lefties out there that think abortion is so important. It's going to get to the point where, yeah, the governments of the world are going to be rewarding people for having children, because we're at that point where we're at the precipitous drop off of population growth, and it's kind of a scary thing, really. So it brings all of its own problems, but I guess it's not a problem yet, as long as they can import people from other places on the planet. But all of these people coming here that hate America, I just hope that most of the people coming here, even after they stop getting free stuff, will either appreciate it and work hard and become Americans, or go back to wherever it was. If you don't like America, you should go wherever it is that it has the country you like and the government you like, and you can do all the things you like, all of the perverts. They can go to Tel Aviv, Israel, the homosexual capital of the world. They can all go there. They can have their own country for all I care. Yeah. Oh, you know what? It probably will get a strike on YouTube for saying something like that. But I think it's good advice. If you don't like the government here, you don't like the country, find a country you like, or a place to live, or a city that's more suited to you and what you want, and go there and be happy as you can be anyway. But yeah, anybody agree with me? All right. Let's see. Alberta now recommends boosters every 3 months, working out to 320 doses for the average lifespan. Yeah. Yes, or you can go to medical assistance in dying. They call it MAID. Yes, I guess not enough people are getting to MAID, so they're trying very hard over there to reduce their population. So, you know how the jab is so effective at stopping the disease that you have to get 20 shots for it to work? Yeah, one every 3 months. Wow. Well, I guess that makes me a pureblood. No mRNA in me. Yes. Okay, African migrants are swarming New York City Hall to protest the lack of work visas and being moved to shelters instead of the luxury hotels. Yeah. African migrants are swarming New York to protest the lack of work visas. Shelters. Biden can't even keep his promises to the illegals. Check out the crowd that swarmed New York City Hall on Tuesday afternoon. And there it is. Oh, made promises. Maybe the word will get out there in the world that the promises aren't being kept. Maybe it'll get so bad that they'll start leaving. What do you think? Update. The worst Willy Wonka event and its sad Oompa Loompa are going on tour because that's the world we live in. Remember that sad Willy Wonka event in Glasgow with the meth baking Oompa Loompa that ended with the police being called in? I don't remember that. Yeah. Never heard anything about it. And my life probably would have been better from here out if I had never heard of it. Yay. All right. German minister threatens indefinite driving bans on weekends to meet climate goals. Is he really sporting that mustache? Yeah. I just wonder who did that first, and did they think it was really a good look? I mean, it looks like you just have an extreme shadow under your nose. Yeah. It's like, or like something's missing in that spot. Yeah. And there would be no driving on weekends. 999. While this may not be the absolute worst threat that has come out of Germany, it's still not great. No driving on weekends. You will take your driving privileges away. No soup for you. Moving on here. Check out the military games Space Force will be playing in orbit. In 2019, Donald Trump signed a law creating the U.S. Space Force with the stated purpose of securing our nation's interests in, from, and to space. Okay, I'll bite. Yeah. After all, I did see a picture of Captain Kirk. I said, check out the military games. 2025, we may see the first military exercises in outer space. Yes, we don't have enough problems on Earth. We got to have our exercises in space. Yeah, I think it would be better spent money in space than in Ukraine. I'm hoping that somehow that they don't pass that bill giving $60 billion to Ukraine. It's just crazy, man. It's just crazy. We could use that money to export all of the illegals. Yeah. It might put a dent in it. Let's see. Space Command announced that they have awarded 2 contracts with space industry vendors, True Anomaly and Rocket Lab, to engage in war simulations. The vendors will exercise a realistic threat response scenario in a on-orbit space domain awareness demonstration called Victus Haze. So Victus Haze, Victorious Fog, Confusion. Yes, is that what that means? Say what? Who names these things? So this is, I guess, what Babylon Bee has to say about it. Is it really? Or is this who names these things? Oh, anyways, this man here pretending to be a woman, probably this guy. Anyway, oh, is this guy in the Space Force? Good job, Donald Trump. Yeah. How are they still, allowing men pretending to be women in uniform? When another nation puts an asset up into space and we don't quite know what the asset is, we don't know what its intent is, we don't know what its capabilities are, we need the ability to go up there and figure out what this thing is, said General Michael Gutlin, the Space Force's Vice Chief of Space Operations. Is that this guy? Is that General Michael Gutlin? I think that's a really German name, isn't it? For this exercise, True Anomaly will launch its Jackal spacecraft first. They're the bad guys in this scenario, probably the Chinese or the Russians, and will pose an enemy satellite. Rocket Lab will have its rocket on standby to send up a craft to inspect the enemies. The two will switch places with the Jackal inspecting Rocket Lab's satellite. Okay, it'd be kind of like these dogs going around in circles, I'm guessing. Only in outer space, yeah. And they're spacecraft instead. Is that what we got here going here? The real key to the exercise isn't the inspection as much as being able to launch the craft as soon as Space Force gives the launch order. So they want instant stuff. Yeah. Most space launches require months of planning and perfect launch conditions. The new technology requires years to be tested, and usually learning curve involves explosions, lots and lots of explosions. That's the truth, man. They're even going to give us some of those explosions. Yes, indeed. Yeah, I've seen this. I've seen this run before. Anyway. Okay, we're going to accept this call. Your name and where you're calling from. You're on the air with Nicholas as we're watching space explosions. Yeah. And still waiting for you to talk. But yeah, I love these rolls, man. These reels of all the failed stuff. Yes, indeed. Lots and lots of explosions. Yeah. See, I told you the Babylon Bee, not the bee can be funnier than the Babylon Bee. Hey, good to see you, Mick, and John over there in the chat room. Yes, indeed. So the Space Force is now they want to launch instantly to go up there and check things out. Now, since we are expecting an alien invasion in about 30 years, yeah, because when Jesus comes back, and all of us join him in the air, all of the elect join him in the air. All these people come up from the dead, and those that are alive and remain are changed in the moment, in the twinkling of an eye. You think they'll have something by that time, 30 years? Well, they'll probably have blown up enough stuff in the next 30 years that they can instantly have an instant vehicle to go up there and check it out and see what's going on. But what they're going to see is Jesus and saints and angels, all riding white horses. Yeah. And they're going to go, what? What country is this? Yeah, it's going to be so. Well, we'll be there no matter which way, whether if we live long enough or not. I know other people are hoping that it's earlier. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm 30 years off, but I thought my friend WW over there, was that WW or somebody else, going by the Geneva Notes, but we figured out that the Geneva Notes, they had conflicting notes, and the notes that were right agreed with me. Yeah. And because they began the 70th week began in the end notes, it began at the birth of Christ, but in the 70 weeks prophecy notes in Daniel, they began it at his baptism, which was what I was using. So there was the 30-year difference. So the Geneva Notes authors agreed with me, at least the ones they put in the 70 weeks prophecy. Okay, we have an alien. He happens to be commander-in-chief. Well, the only thing alien about him is the demons that are in him. Okay? But no, he's of this world. We are the aliens. We're the ones who the Bible says are not of this world. So I'll cop to that. All right. So anyway, Space Force needs to be able to respond to threats from orbit, space immediately. They can't sit around worrying about the weather or their rocket's cooling system have a leak or waiting for the weather to be so-so. Space Force calls this readiness tactically responsive space. Tactically responsive space? Or tactical space responsiveness would make more sense, but whatever. Look at the guy they got in charge, man. I mean, what do you expect? They got other things on their mind, obviously, and it's either it's one of three things, and all three of those things are sex. They're not worried about protecting us from aliens or even the Russians or the Chinese in space. Victus Nox, the exercise last year launched Victus, a satellite within 27 hours of the order being given, and they want to get that time down to even lower. So, I forgot about the call. Well, that was a long call, I guess. Yes. Hey, there, I figured out what to do. Just ignore them. So someone calls and says nothing. I'm just going to ignore them till they go away. And ended the call themselves. Does that sound like a good idea? And Mike says true. Of course, I don't know what he's saying true to. So we have that's about Joe Biden. Yeah. And us being aliens. We are the aliens and not of this world. That's right. So in a near space, if a near peer competitor makes a movement, we need to have it in our quiver to make a counter maneuver, whether that be go up and do a show of force or go up and do space domain awareness or understand the characterization of the environment. What's going on? Gutelin says. Yes, indeed. The Victus Nox exercise last year launched a satellite within 27 hours. So nobody's going up there and they're like their fighter spacecraft to shoot things down. I mean, that's really where we need to be, kind of like Star Wars, right? The Chinese have a satellite, the Shenzhen 17, equipped with a robotic arm that has the potential to grab other satellites and disable them. Even scary is a bit of Russian technology, a nesting doll, a satellite that releases a smaller satellite armed with a projectile capable of taking out our own orbital tech. Scary stuff if you like things like cell phone service and the internet. I'll be honest, though, I'm disappointed. I don't know. Most of our cell phone service is ground-based here. I know they do some hops like across the ocean on satellite, but I'm not even sure about that. So if we have a caller, the caller can talk and at any time they want. I think this is the second time for this number. But I see nothing, no voice, nothing. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, we'll just end the call and we'll say block number, block and report junk. Yes, we can do that. So we dispatched that space satellite. Okay. Scary stuff. I'll be honest, though, I'm disappointed. I was hoping for Star Trek or Star Wars, but instead I got battle bots in space. Any battle bots? They're like, it's got an arm. It needs to get close to our satellite so it can disable it. Battle bots. Yeah. Hopefully they will at least add some hammers and spinning saw blades to keep up the excitement. Indeed. Yeah. Okay, so old liberal rocker storms off stage. Junk caller junked. Yes, that's true. Because I forgot all about him. He was on the first time, and I forgot about him. I think that may be the best way to treat him is just let him listen. Hey, Maybe I'll just see. Got a track around here. I can read them a chick track. See if they want to accept Jesus. Take them down what do they call that? The Romans Road? Yeah. Oh, but they don't answer, so what can you do? Okay, so 250. Okay, well that's from Not the Bee. So what else we got? Oh, I guess that's all the Not the Bee has for today. So yeah, better sip some of this coffee. So Mike says I've been a space cadet. Yeah, when I was younger, I was a space cadet too. That was even before even before I met Jesus and got adopted into God's family. I was definitely a space cadet. First job out of college, commercial satellite local service TV and satellite trucks. And that was a thing, reporting from a scene. Oh, yeah, when that was a thing. Oh, that sounds like an interesting career beginning. Yeah. I was only space cadet because I was probably I was smoking too much pot before, that as a teenager. Let's see. Your typical ICBM nuclear armed missile carries a MIRV warhead. MIRV stands for multiple reentry vehicles. Each missile has 7 warheads that can each hit a separate city or target. Yes, I've heard about those. All right, well, here's our break. We'll be back in a few minutes.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on satellite, internet, or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth, look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
Hi, I'm Nicholas Arthur, and I'd like to introduce you to my latest book, Reformed Prophecy Interpretation, an apology for Reformed premillennial historicism in the 21st century. As with primitive biblical Christianity, historicism is the method of prophecy interpretation restored with the advent of the Protestant Reformation, and had become so widely held that for a long time it was called the Protestant view. My book is not so much about the errors of dispensationalism or amillennialism. Rather, it is about the historicist alternative to understanding many of the same passages from the vantage point of prophecy fulfilled in history. For those that desire more than mere hypotheses, bolstered with conjectured speculation, those who require explicit biblical exegesis and verified historical fulfillment, and are not willing to accept speculation as anything other than what it is, speculation, not truth. this book is for you. Over the last century, this method of interpretation has become almost completely forgotten, even by Protestants, in the face of a method that is based almost entirely on future speculation, rather than fulfilled prophecy in history. In my book, I examine the reasons for this and investigate some of the prophecy which has been fulfilled in the interim, as well as present an apology for Reformed premillennial historicism to the 21st century. If you're interested in a copy of my book, you can go to my website, crosstheborder.org, and get more information there. Or you may also find it at Amazon. Oh, it looks like I'm late. Okay, yes. Late coming back. Oh, and now the coffee's too hot. Okay. Oh, let's see. Pot quality assurance, no doubt. Yeah, well, we're talking more than 50 years ago, so just have to throw that in there. It's been more than 50 years since I was a teenager. It's a long time. Let's see, what else we got here? Well, we have a redacted newsletter here. The CDC warns that there's an outbreak of Botox poisoning. I thought Botox was poison. Across 9 states. Best way to avoid that? Don't get Botox. Yeah. And in case you missed it, Denmark's old stock exchange went up in flames. The BBC reports that members of the public helped save historic paintings. Okay. And the European Union is considering putting sanctions on Iran after it retaliated against Israel on Saturday. The EU did not consider putting sanctions on Israel for its attack on Iran's embassy in Syria. Okay, that's how that works. Let's see, in case you missed it, police tried to shut down a political conference in Belgium because they said that it was far right. But a court intervened, and the conference will proceed. Yes, the government doesn't like anything far right, does it? Yeah, exactly. Tox is in the name Botox. What do they not understand? Yes, Botox poisoning. Yeah. It's like rattlesnake poisoning, you know? We're surprised. Okay. France says that Russia can participate in the 80th anniversary of D-Day, but Vladimir Putin can't come. Well, imagine that. Russia can participate, yes, but don't show up with anything, like, because they might confiscate it so they can give the money to the Ukraine. Yeah. So I'm listening to, they passed this $80 billion $60 billion for Ukraine or something, or they're going to pass it. And in there was written that they're going to take the money from Russian assets. So now we're legislating stealing the assets of another country to give it to a failed country that started a war on its own people. And which the Russians got involved in because the people they were warring against were mainly Russian-speaking and Russian Orthodox near the border of Russia. Okay, so Ukraine has tightened military conscription rules, causing panic in Ukrainians outside the country. Yeah, I think we talked about that. No, I heard about that before already. The Speaker, House Speaker Mike Johnson, says that he will put forward a vote for more military aid to Ukraine because he considers himself a wartime. Yeah, I heard that. He's a wartime speaker. And are they going to declare war? Finally, is Congress going to declare war for the first time since World War II? He's a wartime speaker. Okay. The extreme irony is that he's not put forward any votes for Congress to declare war. And I thought he was a constitutional guy. I'm starting to get the feeling that he's not being honest with us, or maybe was, but now that he's in a position to be, he isn't. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Gold is up. 23.84. Yep. And silver is up too to $28.41. I don't know how many pennies that is up, but it's still about the same. And Bitcoin is, who cares? It says it's up. And the Dow is up and everything else is down. All of that meaningless stuff to me anyway. But I guess if you got money in pension funds and that kind of stuff, then you might be kind of worried about that if that's where they're putting your money. Okay, let's see what else we got. A weekend of war. Save the date for Saturday, according to NBC. That is when Israel will launch a retaliation on Iran, but not directly inside Iran. Israel says that the retaliatory strikes will occur on Iranian proxies situated outside Iran. Does that mean like in other countries that have no defense that they can bomb and get away with? Are they going to bomb? Do we have an Iranian embassy in America? I don't know. It's kind of what they're saying. We're going to bomb Iranian assets, but in other countries. Yes, any countries want to volunteer? Crazy. The U.S. keeps begging them not to, but Israel cares less and less what the U.S. says these days. Oh, and plus that, we're going to send Israel, Speaker Johnson, the new Democratic Speaker in the Congress, Democrat Speaker, not Democratic. That's different. He's a Democrat Speaker because he's given Joe Biden everything he wants, so he must have switched sides somehow. Everybody's pulling out their hair trying to figure out what happened to him. So now I think he'd do anything to give Israel money because he believes in the false prophecy that if we do whatever Israel wants and help Israel do anything that it wants to do, that God will bless us. Yeah. No, you don't find that in the Bible anywhere. You find that in dispensational eschatology. So, the U.S. keeps begging them not to, but Israel cares less and less what the U.S. says these days. According to NBC. Okay, well, let's see. I have another call. Let's try it out. If you have a name, please give it to us. Tell us where you're calling from, or forever hold your peace. my throat was just getting dry. Okay, let's see. So the U.S. officials stressed that they have not been briefed on Israel's final decision about how it will respond, and that the options could have changed since the weekend attack. But regardless, let's send them another $20 or $30 billion. That's right. Remember, they have a budget surplus. We wouldn't want them to blow that, would we? Yeah. So we'll borrow money from the Antichrist bankers and destroy our own economy. Meanwhile, we got to pay for all these illegals and give them debit cards, and because where does that money coming from? Yeah, it's certainly not going to come from the money we're sending to Ukraine or Iran, Israel, or Iran. Israel struck the Iranian embassy in Syria in early April, and Iran retaliated by striking Israeli military targets last weekend. Israel says it cannot let that go and will retaliate for the retaliation. When will the world see the last word on this? Pray that it is soon. Yes, indeed. Yeah. All right. African illegals, aliens swarm New York City Hall. African illegals. Yes, more political madness because they truly care about America. Yeah. Seems like we have a lot of problems that could be resolved at home, like, yes, putting some military on the border, closing that thing down. Yeah, that would help right away. Let's see. More than 1,300 African illegal aliens swarmed City Hall in New York City to protest. What were they protesting? False promises, they say. Don't they know that the government lies to everybody? That they always break their promises? That they only want you to vote for Joe Biden? That's the only reason you're here? To vote for Joe Biden? So, if I could speak to all the illegals, I would say to them, yes, vote for Trump. Yeah, because the other guy's too liberal, and yeah, I don't trust him. I trust him to be who he is and what he's on. The only thing great he ever did was stand up against the pharmaceutical companies. You know the guy I'm talking about. But other than that, yeah, when he picked that shenanigan, and her name is even bad. That's going to be a thing. The shenanigan of picking Shahanahan as his vice president. The chick is totally liberal, right? And she even supports, she supported Buttigieg, as DK says. Yeah, so not a good pick. I thought he might have picked someone like, he could have picked somebody else that would have more united the country around him. But he showed his true colors by picking Shenanigan. I was just going to call her Shenanigan from now on because it's his Shenanigan. Yeah. The illegal aliens showed up to a hearing at City Hall that was aimed at understanding how Mayor Adams' administration is addressing language access barriers, cultural competency challenges, health needs, and other roadblocks. Apparently, it isn't because African migrants say that aid workers only speak Spanish or English, and they are left with no recourse. Who promises these aid that don't? Who promises these aids that don't exist? Social media apparently. Our representative for African Communities Together said that the lack of aid has some aliens sleeping in subways desperate for food. Well, when is the news going to get out to all the people still rushing the border? We're running out of places to sleep and food, and people are desperate, okay? Enough is enough. Yes. You'll probably be better off staying in Mexico. Yeah. Maybe they'll come up with their own policy to say stay somewhere on the way or go back home altogether. Okay, let's see what else we got. Coffee commercial. Yes, indeed. I already have coffee, don't need coffee. America's Assange deadline. Free Assange, no U.S. extradition. The United States issued now, Julian Assange is not a U.S. citizen, is he? So how can we prosecute him for treason? I don't know. The United States issued a non-assurance that they will treat Julian Assange well if they get their approval to extradite him from the U.K. Last month, the court ruled that Assange could not be extradited to the U.S. unless the U.S. provides assurances that he will be well treated while in custody. Stella Assange, Assange's wife and lawyer, says that this assurance does nothing to relieve their family's extreme distress about his future, his grim expectation of spending the rest of his life in isolation in a U.S. prison for publishing award-winning journalism. The Biden administration must drop this dangerous prosecution before it is too late. I think I heard some rumblings from Joe Biden. He might have spoke out of turn when he said that he would free Julian Assange or Edward Snowden, one of those guys, because there's two of them up there now. Because I haven't heard anything since that rumbling. I guess maybe his handlers shut him up, because don't want him speaking out of turn. So how will the UK government take this non-assurance? The United States has admitted that it tried to assassinate Assange while he was in the Ecuadorian embassy, but now they say that he'll be safe. That same person, what sane person would believe that? If the courts reject this bogus assurance, it will allow a new appeal because the court ruled that he has a real prospect of success on 3 of the 9 grounds of appeal. He should be freed while the courts decide. It's not protocol to detain people during extradition trials. Okay. Oh. Yes, indeed. Let's see what else we got here. Jimmy Depp. Oh, Johnny Depp. I don't know where I got Jimmy at. Johnny Depp is trending because he doesn't dress like a bum anymore since moving to London. So, yeah, he's not as skinny as he used to be either. Unless just that picture makes him look wider. So doesn't dress like a bum anymore. Okay. Good for him. He's sitting in his kitchen, it looks like, with a suit and tie on. Okay, smoking ban is trending because a new bill in the UK would prohibit anyone born after January 1st, 2009 from ever buying tobacco products. What? Sorry? You were born too late to ever buy a tobacco product. You are banned forever. Oh, yes, I was born on December 31st, 2008. I'm good. Right? You either have to ban it or not. It's ridiculous. Okay. Nancy, doll makeup is an online trend that has celebrities and regular people trying to do their makeup to look like Bratz dolls. Some say it's giving a Lolita vibes, and that's not a good thing. Right. And news by the numbers here. Let's see what we got. Let's see, Mike says, Julian Assange from Greenland. Okay. But grew up in Australia. I read. Yeah. So there you go. So he can't be tried for treason. I mean, what is going on with that? Did he apply for and obtain American citizenship at some time? But if he grew up in Australia, he's from Greenland. I don't know. Somebody will write the book someday. 6.2 inches. That is how much rain fell in Dubai this week, which is about 2 years' worth for the desert city. The city was crippled by massive flooding as a result. I guess so. At least I'm in the foothills here. The water runs down into the valley, which used to be a lake. That's why I don't live in the valley, because I'm afraid to live places that used to be a lake. Because all we need is one of these freak rainstorms, and yeah, I've seen it flood before. Shelley R. is in the chat room. Good to see you, Shelley. She's in the First Amendment Radio chat room, you guys. So, must have just woke up. Or, let's see. 50. That is how old posh, spiced Victoria Beckham turns today. Her husband, David Beckham, posted this tribute to her on Instagram. I guess they want us to go look at it. 50? Wow, I remember being 50. I remember that as being young and vibrant and full of life, and some of the best years of my life, because I had most of my mistakes were behind me. That's what I thought of my 50s. And I thought, all right, man, I've made so many mistakes now that hopefully most of them are behind me. And I was right. So I think like 50s should be like your most productive decade. Yeah. But I'm still producing here. Okay, let me see. But actually, I don't feel much different today than I did at 50. Okay, next. 2.9%. That's how much inflation rose in Canada in March compared to last year. 2.9% in a month? Yeah, I guess that's the 3% is the Fed target. Yeah. Thanks for that, Fed. Yeah. 41.80 seconds. That's how fast male athlete Camden Schreiner ran the women's 300-meter race. They're still doing this stuff. They're still allowing that. Setting a new record in the female category. Well, it would take, I mean, you could do that all day long, set new records if you allow. Well, why don't we just count all the men's records and count them already winners? Oh, seriously, you know? So that's how fast male athlete Camden Schreiner ran the women's 300-meter race, setting a new record. In an event in New York, he raced as a woman named Sadie in this race, but last year he raced as Camden in the male 100-meter category and came in 19th. Yeah, that's his true colors. He came in 19th. Going, is that fair? Well, that means that there were 18 other people that were faster than him in the in the race he just ran. Yeah. So, like, nothing. Yeah. Is how these people can live with themselves. But I guess if they don't care about themselves. All right. Trouble in the skies. Seriously. I am serious. And don't call me Shirley. Shirley, you can't be serious. Okay. American Airlines pilots are raising the alarm on significant spike in safety and maintenance issues, such as tools left in wheel wells and more, collisions on ground during towing operations, poor record keeping, and abbreviated check flights after maintenance. This comes from a memo from the airline's pilot union. It says that while United Airlines is currently under public and government scrutiny, it could just as easily be American Airlines. Okay. American Airlines says that it will meet with the union to look into this. Is this related to Boeing airplane failures or something else? Well, it sounds like something else if it's maintenance at the airport, because I'm sure Boeing isn't there maintaining the airplanes, but it sounds like trouble all around for America. Yeah. Probably too many pot smokers with all those dispensaries everywhere you go, and other things, or people that are more worried about whether they, them, or it, or whatever. Yeah. Serious trouble here in America. Anyway, that's the redacted newsletter from Natalie Morris. We thank her for that. And we are at the bottom of the last hour here. So, we'll see what we have when we come back. Okay, the dogs are barking a lot tonight. Might be coyotes across the street. So, because we have coyotes. Yes, indeed. Okay, remember to go to my website while you're on the break there and press the follow button if you're not doing that yet. And, of course, like the videos and share them whenever you're watching, or any articles you find on my website, or any way you can help out. If you got an extra $1,000 or $1,000,000 or $10 sitting around, send it over to us. And, that money you were going to send to John Hagee, don't do that. Send it to First Amendment Radio instead. All right. Well, that's the second tone, so I'll be back in a few minutes.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on satellite, internet, or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. we're asking you to give much less than a tithe so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
Okay, here we are, getting down to the wire here. No comments, no questions, no suggestions. All right. I guess we're going to jump into the commercial enterprises and banishments of the Jesuits. England, Poland. On the entrance of the Jesuits into England, the arts they employed, the disguises they wore, the seditions they sowed, the snares they laid for the life of the sovereign, and the plots they concocted for the overthrow of the Protestant Church. We shall have an opportunity of speaking when we come to narrate the history of Protestantism in Great Britain. Meanwhile, we consider their career in Poland. Cardinal Hosius opened the gates of this country to the Jesuits. Till then, Poland was a flourishing country, united at home and powerful abroad. Its literature and science during the half-century preceding had risen to an eminence that placed Poland on par with the most enlightened countries of Christendom. It enjoyed a measure of toleration which was then unknown to most of the nations of Europe. Foreign Protestants fled to it as a refuge from the persecution which they were exposed to in their native land, bringing to their adopted country their skill, their wealth, and their energy. Its trade increased, and its towns grew in population and riches. Italian, German, French, and Scottish Protestant congregations existed at Krakow, Vilna, and Poznania. Such was Poland before the Jesuit foot touched its soil. But from the hour that the disciples of Loyola entered the country, Poland began to decline. The Jesuits became supreme at court. The monarch, Sigismund III, gave himself entirely up to their guidance. no one could hope to rise in the state who did not pay court to them. The education of youth was wholly in their hands, and the effects became speedily visible in the decay of literature and the growing decline of the national mind. At home, the popular liberties were attacked in the persons of the Protestants, and abroad the nation was humiliated by a foreign policy inspired by the Jesuits, which drew the contempt and hostility of neighboring powers upon the country. These evil courses of intrigue and faction within the country, and impotent and arrogant policy outside of it, were continued until the partition of Poland resulted. It is at the door of the Jesuits that the fall of that once enlightened, prosperous, and powerful nation is to be laid. It concerns us less to follow the Jesuits into those countries which lie beyond the boundaries of Christendom, unless insofar as their doings in these regions may help to throw light on their principalities and tactics. See, I have a caller, and the caller is not talking, right? Yes. Okay, well, I guess we'll just block this number since strike one. Block and report junk. There we go. Incredible. Yes, indeed, it is incredible. It concerns us less to follow the Jesuits into those countries which lie beyond the boundaries of Christendom, unless insofar as their doings in these regions may help to throw light on their principles and tactics. In following their steps among the heathen nations and savage races, it is alike impossible to withhold our admiration of their burning zeal and intrepid courage, or our wonder at their prodigiously rapid success. No sooner had the Jesuit missionary set foot on a new shore, or preached, by an interpreter it might be, his first sermon in a heathen city, than his converts were to be counted in the tens of thousands. Speaking of their missions in India, Sacchinus, their historian, says that 10,000 men were baptized in the space of 1 year. When the Jesuits' missions to the East Indies was set foot in 1559, Torres procured royal letters to the Portuguese viceroys and governors, empowering them to lend their assistance to the missionaries for the conversion of the Indians. This shortened the process wonderfully. All that had to be done was to ascertain the place where the natives were assembled for some religious festival and surround them with a troop of soldiers, who, with leveled muskets, offered them the alternative of baptism. The rite followed immediately upon the acceptance of the alternative, and the next day the baptized were taught the sign of the cross. In this excellent and summary way was the evangelization of the island of Goa effected. By similar methods they attempted to plant the popish faith and establish their own dominion in Abyssinia, and also at Mozambique, 1560, on the opposite coast of Africa. One of the pioneers, Oviedo, who had entered Ethiopia, wrote thus: the Pope, he must be permitted to inform His Holiness that the assistance of 500 or 600 Portuguese soldiers, he could at any time reduce the empire of Abyssinia to the obedience of the pontificate. And when he considered that it was a country surrounded with territories abounding with the finest gold, a promising rich harvest of souls to the church, he trusted His Holiness would give the matter further consideration. The Emperor of Ethiopia was gained by flatteries and miracles. A terrible persecution was raised against the native Christians. Thousands were massacred. But at last the king, having detected the authors of these barbarities plotting against his own life and throne, they were infamously expelled from the country. Having secured the territory of Paraguay, a Portuguese possession in South America, the Jesuits founded a kingdom there and became its sovereigns. They treated the natives at first with kindness and taught them several useful arts. But by and by they changed their policy, and reducing them to slavery, compelled them to labor for their benefit, dealing out to the Paraguayan peasant from the produce of his own toil as much as would suffice to feed and clothe him. The fathers laid up the rest in large storehouses, which they erected for the purpose. They kept carefully concealed from the knowledge of Europe the seemingly exhaustless source of wealth, that no one else might share its sweets. They continued all the while to draw from it those vast sums wherewith they carried on their machinations in the old world. With the gold wrung from the Paraguayan peasants' toil, they hired spies, bribed courtiers, opened new missions, and maintained that pomp and splendor of their establishments by which the populace were dazzled. Their establishments in Brazil formed the basis of a great and encircling trade, of which Santa Fe and Buenos Aires were the chief depots. But the most noted episode of this kind in their history is that of Father Lavalette, 1756. He was Visitor General and Apostolic Prefect of their missions in the West Indies. He organized offices in San Domingo, Grenada, San Lucia, San Vincent, and other islands, and drew bills of exchange on Paris, London, Bordeaux, Nantes, Lyon, Cadiz, Leghorn, and Amsterdam. His vessels loaded with riches comprising, besides colonial produce and Negro slaves, crossed the sea continually, trading on credit. They professed to give the property of the society as security. Their method of business was abnormal. Treaties obeyed by other merchants they disregarded. Neutrality laws were nothing to them. They hired ships which were used as traders or privateers as suited them, and sailed under whatever flag was convenient. At last, however, came trouble to these fathers who were making, as the phrase is, the best of both worlds. The brothers Leonci and Gaufrey of Marseille had accepted their bills for $1.5 million livres, to cover which two vessels had been dispatched for Martinique with merchandise of the value of $2 million. Unfortunately for the fathers, the ships were captured at sea by the English. The house of Leonci and Gaufrey asked the superior of the Jesuits in Marseille for 4,000 livres as part payment of their debt, to save them from bankruptcy. The father replied that the society was not answerable, but he offered the brothers the aid of their prayers, fortified by the masses which they were about to save for them. The masses would not fill the coffers which the Jesuits had emptied, and accordingly the merchants appealed to Parliament, craving a decree for repayment of the debt. The appeal was allowed, and the Jesuits were condemned to honor the bills drawn by their agent. At this critical moment, the general of the society died. Delay was inevitable. The new general sent all the funds he could raise, but before the supplies could reach Marseille, Leonci and Gaufrey had become bankrupt, involving in their misfortune their connections in all parts of France. Now that the ruin had come and publicity was inevitable, the Jesuits refused to pay the debt. Now that the ruin had come and publicity was inevitable, the Jesuits refused to pay the debt, pleading that they were protected from the claims of their creditors by their constitutions. The cause now came to public hearing. After several pleas had been advanced and abandoned, the Jesuits took their final stand on the argument which, in an evil hour for themselves, they had put forth at first for their defense. Their rules, they say, forbade them to trade, and the fault of individual members could not be punished upon the order. They were shielded by their constitutions. The Parliament ordered these documents to be produced. they had been kept secret till now. They were laid before Parliament on 16th April of 1761. The result was disastrous for the Jesuits. They lost their cause and became much more odious than before. The disclosure revealed Jesuitism to men as an organization based on the most iniquitous maxims and armed with the most terrible weapons for the accomplishment of their object, which was to plant their own supremacy on the ruin of society. The disclosure of their constitutions were one of the principal grounds of the decree for the extinction of the order in France in 1762. So they were found out. It is not to be wondered that the political kingdoms and civil communities should feel the order as a burden too heavy to be borne, when we reflect that even the popes, of whose throne it was established, have repeatedly decreed its extinction. Strange as it may seem, the first, by a bull issued in 1741, prohibited them from engaging in trade and making slaves of the Indians. In 1759, Portugal, finding itself on the brink of ruin by their intrigues, shook them off. This example was soon followed in France, as we have already narrated. Even in Spain, with all its devotion to the Papal See, all the Jesuit establishments were surrounded one night in 1767 with troops, and the whole fraternity, amounting to 7,000, were caught and shipped off to Italy. Immediately thereafter, a similar expulsion befell them in South America. Naples, Malta, and Parma were the next to drive them from their soil. The severest blow was yet to come. Clement XIII, hitherto their firm friend, yielding at last to the unanimous decision of all the Roman Catholic courts, summoned a secret conclave for the suppression of the order, a step necessary, said the brief of his successor, in order to prevent Christians raising one against another and massacring one another in the very bosom of her common mother, the Holy Church. Clement died suddenly the very evening before the day appointed for the conclave. Lorenzo Ganganelli was elevated to the vacant chair under the title of Clement XIV. Ganganelli was studious, learned, of pure morals, of genuine piety. From the schoolmen he turned to the fathers. Forsaking the fathers, he gave himself to the study of the Holy Scriptures, where he learned on what rock to fix the anchor of his faith. Clement XIV strove for several years with honest but mistaken zeal to reform the order. His efforts were fruitless. On the 21st of July, 1773, he issued the famous bull, Dominus ac Redemptor Noster, by which he dissolved and forever annihilated the order as a corporate body, at which time it counted 22,000 members. The bull justifies itself by a long and formidable list of charges against the Jesuits. Had this accusation proceeded from a Protestant pen, it might have been regarded as not free from exaggeration, but for coming from the papal chair, it must be accepted as a sober truth. The bull of Clement charged them with raising various insurrections and rebellions, plotting against bishops, undermining the regular monastic orders, and invading pious foundations and corporations of every sort, not only in Europe, but in Asia and America, to the danger of the souls and the astonishment of all nations. It charged them with engaging in trade, and that, instead of seeking to convert the heathen, they had shown themselves intent only on gathering gold and silver and precious jewels. They had interpolated pagan rites and manners with Christian beliefs and worship, and they had set aside the ordinances of the church and substituted opinions which the apostolic chair had pronounced fundamentally erroneous and evidently subversive of good morals. Tumults, disturbances, violence had followed them in all countries. In fine, they had broken the peace of the church, and so incurably that the pontificates of his predecessors, Urban VIII, Clements IX, 10, 11, and 12, Alexander's 7 and 8, Innocent 10, 11, and 12, and 13, and Benedict 14 had been passed in abortive attempts to reestablish the harmony and concord which they had destroyed. It was now seen that the peace of the church would never be restored while the order existed, and hence the necessity of the bull which dispossessed the Jesuits of every office, service, and administration, took away from them their houses, schools, hospitals, estates, withdrew all their statutes, usages, decrees, customs, and ordinances, and pronounced all the power of the general, provincial, visitors, and every other head of the same order, whether spiritual or secular, be forever annulled and suppressed. The present ordinance, said the bull, in conclusion, shall remain in full force and operation from henceforth and forever. And that was the imposition placed on them by their own church. So must be taken as the truth. Yes. Nothing but the most tremendous necessity could have made Clement XIV issue this bull. He knew well how unforgiving was the pride and how deadly the vengeance of the society, and he did not conceal from himself the penalty he should have to pay for decreeing its suppression. On laying down his pen, after having put his name to the bull, he said to them around him that he had subscribed his own death warrant. The Pope was at that time in a robust health. In his vigorous constitution, temperate habits promised a long life, but now dark rumors began to be whispered in Italy that the pontiff would die soon. In April the following year, he began to decline without any apparent cause. His illness increased. No medicine was of any avail, and after lingering in torture for months, he died September 22nd, 1774. Several days before his death, says Caraccioli, his bones were exfoliated and withered like a tree attacked at its roots, withers away and throws off its bark. The scientific men who were called to embalm the body found the features livid, lips black, abdomen inflated, limbs emaciated, and covered with violet spots. The size of the heart was diminished, and all muscles were shrunk up, and the spine was decomposed. They filled the body with perfumed and aromatic substances, but nothing could dispel the mephitic effluvia. What a horrible end. Yes. The suppression of which Clement XIV smote the Society of Jesus was eternal, but the forever of the bull lasted only in actual deed during the brief interval that elapsed between 1773 and 1814. That short period was filled up with the awful tempest of the French Revolution. To the fallen thrones and desecrated altars of which the Jesuits pointed as the monuments of divine anger at the suppression of the order. Despite the bull of Clement, the Jesuits had neither ceased to exist nor ceased to act amid the storms that shook the world when they were energetically active. The revolutionary conventions and clubs, in war councils and committees, on battlefields they were present, guiding the unseen but powerful touch the course of affairs. Their maxim is, if despotisms will not remodel the world anew, thus the Society of Jesus, which has gone out of existence from before the Revolution, has been believed, started up in full force the moment after, prepared to enter on the work of molding and ruling nations which had been chastised but not enlightened. Scarcely had Pius VII returned to the Vatican when, by a bull dated August 7, 1814, he restored the Order of Jesus. Thaddeus Brodowski was placed at their head. Once more, the Brotherhood stalked abroad in their black berettas In little time, their colleges, seminaries, and novitiates began to flourish in all countries of Europe, Ireland, England, not excepted. Their numbers swelled by the sodality of St. Vincent de Paul. Brothers of the Christian doctrine and other societies affiliated with the order became greater, perhaps, than they ever were at any former period. And their importance was vastly, in fact, enhanced by the fact that the contents between the order and the papal chair ended, temporary at any rate, in the enslavement of the popedom, of which they inspired the policy, indicted the decrees, and wielded the dower. Next time, chapter 10. Very instructive, is it not? And you can see they're well at work in the world today, tearing down liberty and destroying nations wherever they please. They have all the worldly power that any shadow government could wish to wield. And they're doing their best. Are they not? Okay, well, I'm about out of time. Strike one in band. Oh, who's got a strike? Yeah, who got a strike one in band? Oh, the phone caller. Yeah. Well, if they're on there like 5 minutes or something. No, I think it was actually the second call. I didn't give it a strike the first time, but yeah. Well, we are about out of time. So, let me see how we're doing here as far as time goes. Got my clock. Yep, we're out of time. Well, please like the video, share, let everyone you know, tell them all about First Amendment Radio. Make sure you got our Moby page on your smartphone and you're being edified by the good teaching and such that we have there. And until we meet again, may the Almighty bless you and keep you as we travel the narrow way that leads to life. I'll see you next time.
Secrets of the Rapture. Is there a 500-year-old conspiracy? A propaganda machine so pervasive and entrenched, yet so elusive that the entire world could be taken in by it, working in plain sight, but unseen by the world for what it truly is? If prophecy is God-given history in advance, why does the prophecy that has conquered the age also exclude nearly 2,000 years of history? What is it that they are afraid?
American Family News, I'm Robert Thornton. 12 jurors have been seated for the hush money trial against former President Donald Trump. The day started with 7 seated and was reduced to 5 after 2 were dismissed. Here's former President Trump.
I'm supposed to be in a lot of different places campaigning, but I've been here all day on a trial that really is a very unfair trial.
Today, the United Nations voting following a Palestinian request for UN recognition of the Palestinian state. UN President and Malta Ambassador Vanessa Frazier reading the result of the vote.
12 votes in favor, 1 vote against, 2 abstentions. The draft resolution has not been adopted.
The U.S. being the only member to vote against the recognition of the Palestinian state. Google has fired 28 employees.